Lehi Benton. I was in the U.S. Army for 10 years, and I was a staff sergeant when I got out.
So my name is Stephen Thornhill. I was in the United States Army. My MOS was 13th Foxtrot.
Jaime Katsikaris. At the time I was in the military, it was Jamie Gustafson, my maiden name. I was the E3 in the U.S. Army National Guard, patient administration, 71 Gulf.
You know, a lot of people want to say that, well, it was 9/11 and I was ready to go fight and I wanted to volunteer for my country and all these other things, you know, and that was part of it for me. But I'm going to tell you the truth. The main part was that I owed the U.S. government about $60,000 in school loans, so I joined the Army.
Yeah, I mean, some of it was for college money. Yeah. Help my folks out, of course.
When I graduated high school, I went to Texas A&M, and I was there for 2 years. My normal grades really suffered, and I knew I needed to grow up. So I went and joined the Army because I knew it would make me.
I wanted to serve my country. My father was also in the Army National Guard. And funny thing is, he was in 1960 in Fort Leonard Wood, and that's where I ended up going.
You know, I kind of felt like I'm young, you know, I can still go help. I need to do my part. And so that's what sort of drove me to the recruiter.
Every Sunday we had to do cleaning the barracks. And actually, the funny thing is, my duty was to, me and another guy on the west side staircase, was to take a toothbrush and a bucket and scrub all the way down 3 flights of stairs. But I remember coming up about third week of boot camp and noticing on our platoon, we had 7 girls and 16 guys. And I remember looking down the hall and thinking, he looks pretty cute. 23 years later in February, I met my husband in boot camp.
We were on an OP. We had been hunting for Saddam Hussein. Everybody in the country had been hunting for him for months. X-Ray 11, which was the Special Forces Command, came across the radio and requested us to go set up a cordon, which is a perimeter around an area. It was a house that we raided multiple times before we knew exactly where it was. Funny thing about that raid is that night, the SF team got bad intel and hit the wrong house first. We were at the correct house. Eventually they got there, and finally they found the hole that he was in. They plucked him out. We intercepted a boat that we feel was coming to pick him up inside the Tigris River. It went off without hits, there were no shots fired that night. Came back and probably had the first Cuban cigar that I actually enjoyed the whole time on that deployment. Was because we finally caught Saddam that night.
I learned so much. The Army changed me. My experiences in the Army, they changed me more than anything I could ever imagine. I mean, and when I think about it, I could talk about it forever, about all the things that I learned. You know, a certain me went into the Army and a completely different me came out.
It was the fact that I was surrounded by a group of people that would knowingly put themselves in between me and somebody that wanted to kill me. You can't teach that. I can take any group of kids, give me a bunch of paintball guns, and I can teach them infantry tactics. That's easy. I could teach them how to shoot, move, and communicate. But I couldn't teach them how to love somebody more than themselves and put themselves in between a threat and what they were protecting. And I saw people do that all the time with our platoon mates. I saw them do it with Iraqi kids, with Afghani kids. I saw it in Timor and all the other places I deployed to. So my takeaway was loving something more than yourself. And when you can figure out what that is, you've kind of figured out a really big part of life.
Just responsibility and doing something, you know, bigger than myself. Sorry, I was getting emotional.
Time is short, and there are things in life that are way more important than other things, such as your family and your loved ones, and it can be taken away fast, and life is fragile. and time was short. And you know, you really learn when you get put out in the situation that I was in some of my deployments. You learn what's important in your life because it's what you're constantly thinking about. I just want to go home and see my wife. I just want to go home and see my kids.
It means I have really bad knees, a bad back. I probably cuss a little bit more than I should. No, it means that I was fortunate enough for a little over 5 years of my life to serve beside some of the most selfless people that came from all walks of life, and have since become my closest friends. The only person that I'm closer to would probably be my wife. That I wish I could give to everybody because you can't beat that part of it.
Just the like the gentleman said before, the brotherhood, the camaraderie that you have, this can't be matched.
What it means to me is the experiences that I have to offer now. You know, I don't feel any different than any other person. You know, like I said, I didn't run off on some kind of heroic voluntary mission to sacrifice myself for the country. You know, I needed to pay that school loan debt and I didn't know how I was going to do it, and the Army offered to do it for me, so I joined. I really feel like I have a responsibility now to continue to contribute to my country by passing these experiences on to young people. And that's what kind of keeps me here. And as far as being a veteran, that's really what it means to me. It's just my experiences. I'm no different than any other person. I just have a lot of very unique experiences. Some of them that I wish I didn't have, but I had to, and they were all part of the experience. So as far as being a veteran, that's what it means.
How did Veterans Day come about? Following the Great War, World War I, President Woodrow Wilson and Congress created what became known as Armistice Day, a day primarily set aside to honor the veterans of World War I and world peace. But in June of 1954, Congress passed an act striking the word armistice and replacing it with veterans. November the 11th each year has evolved to celebrate all veterans who have served in the military, no matter their involvement in any particular war. Today, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank all those brave soldiers and their families that help to protect freedom both here and abroad.
Hey Raider Nation, Principal Simpson here. Today I would like to honor our veterans, those who serve, those who have served, and the families of both groups who also sacrifice in order for us to have the freedoms that we have. We appreciate you and know that we owe you the greatest debt of gratitude. A personal shout out to Ray Simpson, Specialist 5th Class, 458th Sea Tigers, go Tigers. My father-in-law, Ray, not only models in the community, but models for my children, and I so appreciate what he brings to the family and those around him and how he has respectfully served our country. Also want to give a shout out to Aunt Renee, who served in the Air Force. You go, girl. We appreciate you as well. And I hope that all of you remember today, Raiders, the importance of respecting and honoring those who sacrificed for our country.
Veterans Day means a lot to me because I come from a military family. My dad has served in the Army and National Guard. I see firsthand the sacrifices that they make to serve our country, and our veterans deserve way more than one day of recognition. I would like to thank my dad, who is currently deployed overseas, and all those who work with him for their service.
In honor of Veterans Day, we'd like to honor
our friend, coworker,
and Army veteran,
Allison Danae Miller!
Woo!
Thank you to all the veterans that served.